Blessings Booktube. So I've been trying to make little, you know, consolatory. Is that a word? Make little consolations to the popular forms of Booktube that I don't use. So I recently did a reboxing instead of an unboxing. I did a haul even for my birthday. Um, and I know you love lists, so I got a list for you again today. But one of the things I don't do is I don't rate books, right? But the other day I was watching a booktuber named Jen on Books, a lot of energy. And she has these, what do you call it, six-star books that she, that touches her soul. And so I thought, oh well, I could do that, you know. So these are these in honor of the Spinal Tap sequel that's out 30 years later in theaters now, I think. These go to 11. If you don't know the scene, it's a mockumentary of a rock band, and he has his amps go to 11 for no apparent reason. All right, so I've got 11. 11 humor books that, and I think they're all novels. Yeah, I stuck to novels or some short stories. So no plays, because then we'd be here forever. So these are humorous literature that is an 11 out of 10. We're going to start with Marguerite de Navarre. Apologies to ladies. I didn't have I couldn't find many other female authors for my list, but here we start strong with her. She wrote the Heptameron, which is if you think of Chaucer's bawdy tales that he tells in the pilgrimage setup that he uses. The Decameron by Boccaccio, the Italian version, uses equally bawdy, uses the setup of the plague. Of course, Thousand and One Nights, that uses the setup of, telling the Sultan stories every night to not get killed. So Margaret Navarre uses the plague one, and she's French, obviously, and tells these bawdy medieval tales. They're really fun. They're great. Those are a lot of fun. Number 2 is The Golden Ass by Apuleius. I'm not sure how to say it, but this is man is turned into a donkey, has all kinds of adventures, may or may not get turned back into a human, but is that better? Interesting. Has that sort of fly on the wall effect where he can overhear lots of stuff, but he also, obviously, as a donkey, he gets mistreated quite a bit. And what got him into that predicament in the first place? Why did they turn him into that donkey? You'll have to read The Golden Ass, The Legend of the Golden Ass. It goes by another title, but I can't remember it now. Okay, so fantasy. So I didn't go back to epic, but fantasy, sci-fi, all that good stuff. With apologies to Douglas Adams, right? Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle. I'm going to go with Samuel Butler's Erewhon, which is nowhere spelled backwards, right? His satire of utopia, which of course can exist nowhere. Very funny and thought-provoking and great satire. And yeah, I basically am not going to give you, your Twain, your Dickens. We're not going to do Pickwick Papers, Tom Sawyer, the usual suspects here. I'm trying to give you something more different, including some of my favorites, but that I've put on a bunch of lists before. So I've dug a little deeper here today. So, but when we talk picaros, we got to do picaros, right? These are these scoundrel type characters who go around, living by their wits and scamming people and all that good stuff. You have to start with Don Quixote, right? But actually, no, there is an anonymous picaresque in Spanish called Lazarillo de Tormes, which is also very, very funny. But that's not my pick, because actually what I like is one by Mateo Aleman called Guzman Alfarache. Very funny. So if you like picaresque, you've got a couple options there in Spanish. For something more contemporary in Spanish, I give myself an extra because it's Hispanic month, whatever. I love Oscar Wow. Oh, very funny. Give that a read if you haven't yet. A lot of good fun there. Kind of tortured, alienated, just adolescent, all that good stuff. Okay, so to French. So the French have their Picaro, like almost every European country. That would be Le Sage's Gil Blas, which is a lot of fun. But I'm not going to go with him, nor the obvious Rabelais, who's like the king of comedy in French. Medieval, scatological, but also super verbose, very erudite. Nor with Voltaire, Candide, all that good stuff, or even Montesquieu, his contemporary, another philosopher who wrote the Persian Letters, one of my favorite culture clash comedies. But I'm going to go with a more contemporary, and again, a satire, author named Pennac, and he wrote a book called Au Bonheur des Ogres, for the pleasure of the ogres, which is a satire on Au Bonheur des Dames, for the pleasure of the ladies, which is a Zola novel set. Zola, he liked to do that naturalism, right? And here he looked at previously mining. He looked at a brewery. So this one is department store. So that's an interesting book as well, but not funny. But Au Bonheur des Ogres is very funny. There's a bomb scare. It's a lot of fun. So check that out if you want a French one. If you want a German one, people think Germans aren't funny. They have not read German humor. So their picaresque is Simplicissimus, which I have read, even though I can't say it. It's by some Hans von something, long name. But that's a lot of fun. But I really love Felix Kroll, The Misadventures of Felix Kroll by Thomas Mann. But that's not my pick because I want to blow your minds, because there is a funny work by Kafka. Yep, that Kafka. Kafkaesque. He wrote something called America with a K. It is hilarious. You got to check it out. All right, so on to England. Finally, yay. Tons of picaresques. You've got Humphrey Clinker's probably one of my favorite. That's by Smollett. He also has Roderick Random. And you got Tom Jones. You got Joseph Andrews. Anyway, but that's not what I'm going with. I'm actually going with another satire called Shamala. Shamala is by Fielding, Tom Fielding, or Henry Fielding, who wrote Tom Jones. And it's a spoof of Richardson's Pamela, right? Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, or whatever that is. It's a moral tale, right? Everyone gets their comeuppance in the end. Well, this totally makes fun of that. So Shamala by Fielding, very funny. Okay, so English literature started with so much humor from the get-go, right? From the first English British novels. We need to read those more. Okay, Russia. Russia's got some funny stuff too, but I don't find Master and Margarita funny. I've seen it on a lot of the lists. I just didn't find it very funny. Interesting, but not funny. But Gogol, Inspector General, all that good stuff. But he's a little too on the nose. See what I did there? Gogol's the nose? No? All right. Well, anyway. For him, I would have picked Dead Souls, which is hilarious. A guy goes buying up all these peasants who are deceased, but if you get them on your list, it's sort of like how America puts jails in rural Republican counties because that counts for the total number of people in that county. So they get more representation, but those felons can't vote. So the local, I don't know that they would vote Democrat, but anyway, the locals usually vote Republican, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, Dead Souls is hilarious, but that's not my pick. In fact, I'm not even picking a Russian because I really wanted to pick Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. I just think the translator character in that book is so funny. Laugh out loud. I just was dying reading that book. So yeah, there you go. God, finally, I wanted to get contemporary because we're not number 8, and I'm still in the past centuries. All right, so 9, we're in USA. So with apologies to Thurber, Walter Mitty, and my favorite, Woody Allen, who you might not know, writes hilarious short fiction. Usually in the New Yorker publishes them, and he's got a bunch of collections, Getting Even, The Thing with Feathers. But with apologies to them, and I do love Jewish humor, but I'm going with Indian humor because nobody thinks about Indian humor. They all think of that Cody tear, when he littered on the highway and the Indian tear. Anyway, Indian humor is hilarious, and Sherman Alexie, he does have a YA, The Part-Time Adventures or The Full-Time Diary of a Part-Time Indian. I forgot the title, but it's really good. But I'm picking his adult one, The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fist Fight in Heaven. Very, very funny. By the way, if you haven't seen it, watch the movie Smoke Signals. It's also very moving, but hilarious. And you will learn to know that Indian humor is a big thing. Okay, so Canada. Number 10 here, we've got Canada, Robertson Davies, one of my all-time favorite authors. Probably his best is The Fifth Business, which I sneak some theater in through the back door. So, I read a ton of humor in theater. And in fact, I've got probably 10 or so pastiches coming out soon. Over my vacation, I'm scheduling them to populate, upload, whatever it is, of plays, because there's not a lot of play representation on booktube, alas. But anyway, Robertson Davies is very active in the Canadian theater scene. But these are his novels. He's got several trilogies. The Deptford trilogy, I can't remember if that's what this one is part of. I've read 2 of them, I think. But anyway, Fifth Business, very funny. Kind of like Tom Robbins, quirky, crazy, different characters. How are they all interrelated? That kind of thing. And also thoughtful, intellectual, sort of like Saul Bellow. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, check it out. It's really funny stuff. And now we're at 11, so I got to cram everything back in at the very end. What am I going to pick? It's hard. Who have I left out? So many. All the mysteries. Ivanovich, Hyacinth, Heyer. There's another woman I could have picked. You got the nonfiction. You got A.J. Ayers, Bryson, all those guys. You got Barth, all those sort of postmodern guys. You got the Brits, Wodehouse. You got Rumpel and the Bailey, Amis, son and father, Waugh. You got Dave Barry. You've got satire like Board of the Rings, which was done by the American college kids. Anyway, then you got The Onion. White Tiger I saw on some lists, which I thought was a fun novel. Had some good humor. You got Chris Moore. Yeah. Anyway, we got to go. We got to end. We started with the Picaro, and we got to end on the Holy Fool, right? The Fool character. So with apologies to my all-time favorite, Isaac Basinger Singer, this is Gimple the Fool. With apologies to A.Q. from Chinese classics. With apologies to the Good Soldier Shrek, very hilarious war novel. I've got to go with Nasruddin, who these are like Sufi tales about this holy fool who's, he's just hilarious. Anyway, This one's called Wits of Mullah Nasruddin's by a guy named Sufyan. He actually has a bunch of books about the different storytellers. But anyway, Nasruddin stories, if you've never encountered them before, are hilarious. And so we'll end on that. These go to 11.